How's it going, everybody? Got another tobacco review for you tonight. This is a little bit more of an interesting tobacco review. It's kind of one of the ways where I feel like I can give back to people that watch my videos and follow the channel, subscribe, comment, things like that. This tobacco review was initiated by someone who commented, a subscriber. I don't know if he's actually a subscriber or not, but someone who watched a couple videos and commented, requested a tobacco review. So that's what we're doing tonight. And that blend it's just a little baggy, Hearth and Home, 10 to midnight. Now, it's supposed to be a Balkan style blend. I don't, gosh dang it, I should have looked before I jumped on the video to see. I think that the main difference between a Balkan and an English is the amount of latakia versus Orientals. One of them has more Orientals than latakia, the other has more latakia than Orientals. I think, but even then, I think when I researched it before, that was sort of a loose, that was, I guess, sort of like a loose interpretation, I'll call it. I used to smoke a lot of heavy English blends or quote unquote Balkan blends. I don't smoke a lot of Balkan blends anymore. I smoked them a lot when I was earlier in my pipe smoking career because they're big on flavor, and I was trying to figure out flavor, trying to figure out what I'm looking for and things like that, trying to develop my palate for tobacco. I still enjoy heavy English blends or Balkan blends, but it's not my preference generally anymore. So if this style of tobacco blend, like I said, is not my preference generally now, but I still do enjoy it. I think I've said before, when the weather gets a little bit colder, days get a little shorter, things get a little wetter, is when I tend to enjoy more of the heavy English Balkan blends. There's just something comforting about them. It's kind of like a good cup of coffee. So there's Virginia, there's Oriental, Turkish, and Latakia in this blend. Before I move on to that, I'm smoking in a little Radici straight ball shape. It's a cool little pipe, kind of an interesting little shape. It's their rind, obviously they're rusticated. Funny thing about this pipe is it's obviously a straight shank, but then it's got a kind of an interesting little bend on the bit. So you don't see that all the time, but I kind of like it. It's pretty good. And I like Radici's stem work. I think, out of factory pipes, Radici has some pretty good stem work. So I'm a big fan of Radici. I know I did that video on Stanwell's, but I think Radici might be, as of right now, might be my favorite, I guess, at least factory pipe tobacco producer, or pipe tobacco, my favorite factory pipe producer. Really a big fan of Radici. The only thing, with Radici is, like some other Italian brand pipes, is they can run on the large side for me. I generally like, something a little bit smaller. I don't like real big pipes. I would say I'm more like, I like small to medium sized pipes. anything in like that 30 gram to 45, 50 gram range. Once they start getting 60, 70, 80 grams, that's not my preference either. So the biggest thing that stands out to me about this tobacco is the bag note. I mean, it smells like like any heavy English or Balkan blend. Comes in a little crumble cake. I've only got probably 3 or 4 more bowls, maybe not even that much. You can definitely see the Virginias in there. You can see sort of what I think are more the Oriental Turkish, which are like more of like a bronzy reddish color, and then obviously like the black latakia is pretty prominent. I would say it's probably not 50% Virginia if I had to guess, but it could be, but I don't think so. I think it's more like in the 30% ish Virginia, somewhere in there, or somewhere a little under 50%. In terms of Oriental and Latakia, it seems to me that the Latakia is a little that there's more Latakia than an Oriental. And like I said, the bag note, like any other heavy English or Balkan blend. Now the interesting thing about that is when I first tried this blend, opened it up, smell it, and I thought, it's like maybe kind of reminded me a little bit of like Westminster from GLPs or Maltese Falcon, that same kind of note, that same kind of smell. And then when my first light, I was like, whoa, this cannot be the same tobacco. It was extremely floral, not in a fake sense or in like a Lakeland sense. And it's not, as far as everything I've seen, it's not cased or topped with anything. And I don't know if it's the way the Latakia and the Orientals are playing or what it is, or if it's just if it's a Hearth and Home blend, so it's blended by Russ Ouellette. I don't know if Russ just found a particularly floral batch of Latakia or something, but it's extremely floral. And that flavor carries through about the first third or maybe even the first half of the bowl. And it's very floral. I mean, you get the other stuff. Obviously, you get the smoky, campfire-y, the barbecue, earthy tones and stuff like that. But the floral is the center of the show for sure in the first 1/3, 1/2 of the bowl. Once you get into it a little bit, you get past that third mark, that halfway mark, it starts to smoke more like any other heavy English or Balkan blend. Like I would say, pretty reminiscent of a Westminster or pretty reminiscent of a Maltese Falcon, something like that. When I was looking on tobacco reviews to see what was in it and if it was topped with anything, this and that, I happened to skim through a couple of the reviews on there a couple weeks ago, and someone compared it to Penzance a little bit, which if you saw my tobaccos I do not like video, you'll know that I don't like Penzance. I guess it's similar to Penzance in the way that it's the same, I guess, general style of tobacco, right? A heavy English or an English or a Balkan. I remember Penzance being a little floral. I don't remember Penzance being this floral. And if you watch my tobaccos I do not like, my general gripe with Penzance is that, number one, you can't get it. Number two, it's very hard to get, like most esoterica blends. Um, it's difficult to work with. In my estimation, it is very wet in the beginning. The flakes, if you want to call them flakes, um, are extremely wet and difficult to work with and very dense. And then if you try to dry it out so it burns okay, then it turns to dust. That's been my experience with Penzance. Um, I mean, I guess I could see the comparison to Penzance in the same way someone said, this is kind of like, some other Balkan blend. Okay, I guess I could see that as well. The crumble cake, I don't have to cut off anything. I usually just grab it with my hand and just sort of pull a little bit off and then just separate it. Once I get it separated into little smaller chunks, just rub it out, rubs out fine. The most striking thing to me about this blend is the I don't know if dimorphism is the correct word, but because dimorphism relates more to male female size differences, right? Like humans are dimorph individuals, right? Males generally are much larger size than females, but I don't know, so that's not the correct word. I guess what I'll say is the most striking thing to me is the difference in the bag note or tin note or smell and the actual characteristics of the flavors and the notes of the tobacco when you smoke it. I did not get really any more floral than normal when I smelled it, but then when I first lit it, it caught me severely off guard. I was very shocked at how floral it was. Which is kind of nice. I mean, at times, it's kind of nice to be surprised like that, right? So I think, for me, I think there's a lot of other blends out there that are in the same category, a heavy English or a Balkan style tobacco that I would rather smoke. And being that I don't buy and smoke a whole lot of heavy English and or Balkan style blends, I think that this one probably won't make the cut for me in terms of purchase. However, I do like it. So I guess it's it's okay to like something and then say, but I don't like it enough to buy it over, whatever blend. The I guess the other good thing about it is that it would be affordable, right? You can buy 2 ounces of this for I don't even know, $8 or whatever, $9, something, maybe not even that much. Versus buying a tin of GLPs or something's going to run you 13, 14, 15, $16, whatever the case is. So that's kind of a cool deal. If you're a new pipe smoker, you want to try a heavy English, or maybe you've tried heavy Englishes and you want to play around with some sort of a cake or a crumbled cake tobacco, this may be a good one for you because it does handle pretty well. I've had certain cake tobaccos where pretty much had to cut it up, and that's kind of it kind of adds an extra step. Could be a pain in the butt. You may not want to deal with that. This one, you don't have to do that. You can take your fingers and pinch off a little piece and rub that out, put it in your pipe, and have fun. So we're nearing 250 subscribers, maybe past that now. Thank you guys, appreciate that. If anyone has any other tobaccos they want to do a review on, maybe there's not a whole lot of videos out there. You can't find a video or this or that. Let me know in the comments down below. And if it's available and I can get my hands on it and I got a little bit of time to devote to smoking it, see what I think about it and this and that, I will do so. And I'll do a review on it. That way, you know, there's more information on that out there. You know, there's tons of reviews on, you know, the Escudos or the, you know, whatevers of the world. You know, but maybe there's a blend out there that you really enjoy that doesn't get any love. And I like talking about things, pipes, tobaccos, whatever, that don't get a lot of love. I like talking about that, especially on this channel. My Stanwell video was for that purpose. So that being said, the 10 to midnight, Hearth and Home 10 to midnight, I like it. Probably won't buy it or buy very much of it. And I think that's pretty much it. Adios.